So today I'm going to talk about the seductive, hypnotic, addictive quality of being a victim and how to break free from it. And please understand me very clearly, I am not gaslighting victims of abuse. I have been sexually abused and raped, and not for a second do I believe that that was my fault, nor would I ever advocate for such nonsense. However, if I am honest with myself, and that's what I pride myself on, like I am determined to know the truth of my psyche and liberate myself, there were parts of me that were inviting people into my life that did things to me that I knew didn't feel good, but that I decided to withstand for the reasons that I'm about to explain. And by the way, this is a pattern I have seen over and over and over and over. People who come to me and say, my husband, my partner, my wife, maybe it's more common with women where they're married to men who sexually abuse them, violate their sexual boundaries, call them a whore, horrible to the children, present one way to the public, another way in private. They're doing all these things that are like objectively horrible. Yet when the person looks inside, looks under the hood, we find something surprising, right? So this is a very basic drawing of a representation between someone's male and female energy. This is a basic representation of a drawing that would be drawn in the type of healing work that I do to illuminate the patterns of the psyche, shadow patterns. So these eyes represent intense unworthiness, right? These eyes looking over. It's like, what does this look like in the personality? Everywhere you look, in the mirror, in your family, in social media, in your friend group, everywhere you look, you see unworthiness. So to avoid that feeling, you jump into this drama. This drama, if you notice, the female, which is the emotional body, this is not necessarily a woman, although more women embody the feminine pole. A lot of men embody the feminine pole, but like the majority of human beings that are embodying the feminine pole are women. Well, no, maybe not a majority. There's a lot of men that embody the feminine pole. In relationship, if you are embodying the feminine pole, the emotional, someone who's more emotional, more sensitive to feelings, more caring about connection, and usually the wounding there with someone who's extremely feminine is like, okay, they obsess about connection because they're terrified of abandonment, because if they were abandoned, they'd have to face this. So if you notice though, the female is the one with the red eyes. The emotional body is fishing for this. This is the male energy, which inside of us represents the mind and the emotions, but outside of us, this is a literal hologram of what happens in the outer world. The empath, who's actually a very strong person, but might be playing a damsel in distress, might be playing out all sorts of self-deceptions that they're not good enough, that they're not creative, that they can't be successful, right? They're playing out this, so they turn to a form of seduction. Could be sexual seduction, could be being a damsel in distress, could be being helpless, powerless in some way. And so you attract a person, right? Another type of weak person, or a person who's being weak, that likes to feed on that. But you're the one that's fishing for it. You have the hook. You have the hook. The hook is, help me, I'm helpless, I'm a damsel in distress, I'm powerless, I don't trust God, I don't feel good enough, and I don't believe that I can have the life I want, so I need to attract a person who I believe has the qualities. Maybe they're more successful, maybe they're better at dealing with the outer world. I need to attract someone who I believe has things that I don't have. But what I really want to highlight here is she is in charge. She's in charge. If you've ever dealt with a narcissistic type of person, you learn that they're very fragile. They're so terrified of any idea outside of the image they have of themselves, like that would send them into a narcissistic mortification, which is disturbing, crazy behavior where like their facade falls off momentarily if they get a big enough wake-up call and they display very unstable behavior, much more unstable than a reactive type of empath, much more unstable than that. So it's important to understand, though, why are you choosing this? And you're choosing this, you are hunting for it, you are fishing for it because you don't feel good enough, because you're so terrified of abandonment. You're so terrified of abandonment, so you recruit someone who's weak, who you believe will not leave you for some reason. So they might pay the bills, they might abuse me, they might give me some form of security, but be totally neglectful. But that's better than being alone, because if you're alone, you have to face this, which is very heavy. But it's a portal. You see, it's kind of like a double meaning. It's scary eyes, and it's also a portal. I love the soul. I love how the soul talks and illuminates things. Oh, it makes me cry. I just love this. So look, the point here is the victim is always in charge. We're in charge of our own suffering. The narcissist is in charge because they take all of their life force and they will use their entire life force to feel validation, to feel to validate a story they have about themselves. That's why they're actually attracted to empaths at the soul level, because empaths are more real. I'm sad when I'm sad, I'm angry when I'm angry, I'm reactive when I'm reactive. This is just the fucking reality. I'm not some perfect thing. I'm not some pristine, perfect porcelain egg. I'm a fucking human being. That's what they starve for, right? And on the soul level, we learn things from them. We learn things from more narcissistic people because sometimes they have qualities that we need to develop. But here, the point of this video is to say to you, the victim is always in charge. Do not make a career of telling yourself how bad your partner is, because if you're anything like me, I knew from the very beginning that something didn't feel good to me. But I was too indecisive to break away from it. I didn't have trust in God or self-worth. I was living in this. I was living in lack of worth, and I didn't trust God, so I would repeatedly just acquiesce to other people's desires. People would come to me and like pursue me, and I wouldn't even be that interested in them at first. But if I'm really honest, part of me that was so terrified of being abandoned would rely on their like strong pursuit of me and their strong interest in me. Some subconscious part of me translated that as, oh, this person will never leave me. This person will never leave me. Yet at the same time, I was always uncomfortable with who they were. So it's such an interesting battle. Like consciously, even consciously, women know, men know, people know when something feels off to you. You can always trust that, but we have to develop our vessel to have self-reliance, trust in God, self-worth, to actually disconnect from things when they don't feel good. But because we're so afraid of abandonment, because we're avoiding low self-worth, we're avoiding this looming identity that's been running our whole lives, and it's very heavy. It's heavy to the point where it's like, it can feel soul crushing. It can feel soul crushing when you realize that you've been stuck in this. Because you don't want to feel this, you go here. You go here. You find someone who's actually, they might be outwardly abusive in some way, but they're actually not very strong human beings. Otherwise, they wouldn't be abusive. And by the way, we're all abusive in some way. This is also abusive in its own way, right? This is also abusive. We're all abusers, and we're all transactional, and we're all selfish. When we are in a state of being like this is what this is. If I don't trust God and have self-worth, I will jump into a shadow pattern where I have control. I feel out of control, right? If I'm alone, because like a chicken with my head cut off, I need to avoid this feeling. So to get control again, I might use some form of seduction, whether it's sexuality, whether it's being helpless. And by the way, seduction, When we're afraid, what the ego does is it manipulates, seduces, and controls. That's what the ego does. We are all seductive, we are all manipulative, and we're all controlling. And seduction is not just being a siren and using your body to be sexually manipulative. Seduction is also being the nice guy. Seduction is also being the saint. How is that seduction? Because you're trying to pull people in to approve of you. It's the same thing as a siren. Let me like put that out in the universe. A person that goes out of their way to appear nice is the same exact thing as a siren. Sirena, right? The mermaid that lures the sailors to their death. Okay, it's the same thing. We all have it in some way. The only question you need to ask yourself is, how does it play out for you? We have compassion. This is a human condition, but how does it play out for you? How does it play out for you? In my past, because I didn't trust God, because I didn't trust myself, when something felt terrible to me, you know, like I was in a situation where a person literally went out of their way to appear good, nice, saintly, say the right things, leave a literal paper trail of nice texts, of nice things, yet our conversations had a totally different feeling, flavor. Yet I felt the person's intentions didn't match their words. I knew it, but I didn't trust God and I didn't want to face this. So I played this game. I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid. So my body would literally create symptoms, right? When I was trying to break out of this damsel in distress, helpless thing, my body would rage, migraines, symptoms, skin problems, stomach pain, all kinds of physical pain. It's the caged energy. We call it caged energy. This is caged energy. When you break out of this room, don't be surprised if your body rages and begs you to come back, because it's trying to save you. It's trying to keep you safe. It's saying, listen, we know you don't want to face this, so come back in this pool, this cozy, warm pool of seduction and manipulation. Because abandonment is worse than death. Okay? So, I have compassion for this. It's really hard. This is a hard pill to swallow. To admit to yourself that you're in charge. Again, I know there's cases in the world where women can't physically leave a relationship or a situation, and kids can't leave. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who psychologically are skipping in a victim story. You're lying to yourself. We are all playing these games. This happens to be the representation of the person in a situation, usually the empath. And it's bizarre. I've seen this exact image. It floors me. As a spiritual psychologist, it floors me. I've seen this over and over. A person who's with a partner who is all kinds of abusive. They draw the subconscious, and it's like the feminine energy has the hook. The hook is also masochism, because if you feel unworthy, you're literally hunting for the sadist. You need the sadist to fulfill your image of yourself, which is that you are unworthy. And I get it. You know what? In my life, my sun is in the 12th house, so I'm very aware of my subconscious, unconscious. I'm very aware of this. I realized, someone told me the other day, like, things that are obvious to you, Alex, might not be obvious to other people. Well, it wasn't obvious to me at first. Okay, I had to unpack it. I know this is like kind of hard thing to swallow, but I want to free you. I want to liberate you. If you are telling yourself a story that you're stuck in a situation with a horrible human being, like, you got to ask yourself, why do you want it? What's the payoff? You're in charge. You're free. You just choose to swim in this pool because you haven't yet realized your worth and your power, which is your trust in God. So I hope this was helpful. I am not a licensed medical healthcare professional. Please seek help. Go find a psychologist, psychiatrist if you're dealing with abuse. Please do that. go to get trauma therapy, is it called EMDR? Those things are really helpful and so necessary sometimes, because I mean, I've been in situations that were like brought me to my knees, of the intensity of betrayal and confusion and all of that, and you need help and support. This is maybe a little bit later in your process when you want to find out, like, what's going on inside of me, where not only I attract this in the first place, but I'm addicted to the dynamic. I'm addicted to the dynamic. So I hope this illuminated something for you, and I hope you have a beautiful day.